So in part 3, we saw Isaac and Elaine start to settle into the middle rounds of this engagement. Isaac is clearly comfortable with his game plan. It's working for him. All he needs to do is just continue to be precise, to remember the details he's being asked about, and he can very comfortably get through these exchanges without taking any damage. Elaine is not adjusting. She's not bringing new weapons to this fight. And as a result, we've seen her start to get frustrated. Now she's going to start to make mistakes. She's going to give Isaac openings to really pick up the pace, really showboat a little bit, get a little prime Roy Jones Jr. Dancing around in that ring. And really makes an impression, I think, that didn't need to happen. Elaine didn't need to give him that opening, but she did. Let's take a look.
Let's go to the fake punch. I want to make sure that I understand exactly what you remember seeing.
Yeah.
You said that it was 2 to 3 weeks into June. Is that correct? That you saw it?
It's got to be somewhere in that period.
Okay.
To somewhere in the first three, I would say the first 3 weeks of June.
Isaac continues to come across as very credible. He's taking his time. He wants to be precise, but he also doesn't want to be inaccurate. So one thing he does that's very clever, and he's gonna do this in the future round as well, is he goes ahead and just volunteers the expanded time frame. Asked about the first 2 weeks of June. That might be more than he can commit to. Yes, it's what he wanted to say. That's his instinct, but he's not prepared to say it isn't as much as 3 weeks in June. This comes across as somebody who is being sincere, who doesn't have it in front of them, didn't write it in their calendar, can't pinpoint it with any great specificity, but certainly remembers when it happened and remembers a general time frame in which it happened. This makes him come across as simply being very fair. He's not trying to be more knowledgeable than in fact he is. He's willing to concede the limits of what he remembers. That's very powerful.
All right.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Can you recall which week?
No.
Okay. So you saw Whitney and Amber. Was there anyone with them?
No.
Okay. Do you recall what either of them was wearing?
Long jackets. Yes, actually I do.
Okay.
Long jackets. Overcoats.
Elaine is not learning. Elaine. You got to tighten up that jab, girl. This lazy jab with these, what were they wearing types of questions have not been working. We saw in the last section where she's not prepared to contradict him. And so his answer simply stands. For all we know, they could have been wearing anything. But what we have is Isaac's answer, and we have his apparent sincerity in his answer. His eyebrows are up, his eyes are wide, his face is open. He looks like he clearly remembers, and she's not telling anybody otherwise. So here we are, Isaac continuing to put in this solid work with these details that he clearly remembers.
And how was Amber's hair styled that day?
Down. Pulled back.
Pulled back or
Well,
down?
when I say pull, it's like hair's down, maybe because of something around the neck or whatever, the hair is, flipped back or whatever. Not tied back. I don't remember if it was tied back, but just where it's full. It's full.
Okay.
That I remember.
Clear details, no contradiction. Isaac is just catching what she's putting out there, popping his own right back. His is landing, Elaine's is not.
Okay, so now where were they standing when you watched this?
This is where would they stand?
Yes.
They're standing, waiting for one of the elevators on the mezzanine floor where there's, I guess you could see, there's cameras that, has that view of the elevators
So
on the
they're on
mezzanine floor.
So they're on the mezzanine level.
Yeah, this is the
waiting-
same level. This is the same level. There's apartments on that level. And that's how the exit, how you get out to go to the garage.
And so were they coming back from the garage?
Well, if they're standing at the elevator outside, that it could be, and waiting to get into the elevator on that floor. So it could be that maybe they came from outside, maybe they know somebody who lives on that floor, because there's apartments there. I got no clue where they're coming from. That's not even in the thought process. When I see this, it's not like, wow, I wonder where they're coming from.
Okay.
No. It's
Okay.
just,
So
Great story. I mean, this is a great story. This is Isaac just getting to start to put himself on display. Elaine is letting him talk, so he's going to go ahead and roll with it. He's going to explain the configuration of the mezzanine level. He's going to explain that there's a variety of options for what they were doing. Obviously, he wasn't with them. He's watching them on a video camera. So it's another one of these questions that Elaine asks. That's not a very good question. How on earth would he know? Of course he doesn't know. But so this time he takes the time to go ahead and explain to the jury why he couldn't possibly know. He doesn't know if they know anybody in the apartments on this floor. He doesn't know if they're coming from the garage. It could be anything. All he knows is that he saw Whitney fake punch Amber in front of the elevator on the mezzanine level. Now, I have to tell you, I really don't know why Elaine is even asking this. This is danger zone territory for Elaine anyway. The fake punch is a damaging story. It doesn't make her client look good. And so there's no good reason to revisit that and have him repeat the damaging testimony to the jury. It really makes absolutely no sense. What would make sense is if she had some contradiction in the story that she could point out, if he's told it in different ways in different times, if frankly the video doesn't exist. The fact that it doesn't exist is a potential weapon that she has that she could use. But she's not using any of these things. And so once again, she has nothing to challenge how he's recounting this. She's just inviting him to say it again. The jury's going to hear it again, and they're not going to hear anything contrary. So it leaves them with the understanding he's probably telling the truth because she brought it up and she hasn't given them anything else to work with.
now,
what I saw.
tell me where they were each standing.
As I'm watching the video, this tape, Amber's on the left and Whitney's on the right.
Okay. And then tell me, just take us through. Tell me what you saw.
Tell me what you saw is a question for direct examination. That is not a question to be asking in a cross-examination. So open-ended, she just invited him to repeat a damaging story about Amber to the jury. This is not what you do in a cross-examination. Elaine is just not getting it.
Amber's on the left, Whitney's on the right. They're hanging out. Can I stand up?
Yes, sir.
Oh boy. See what you done now, Elaine? See how you opened this one up? Isaac is going to go ahead and do his little dance now. He's going to do his Roy Jones Jr. move. Just going to go ahead and take this opportunity and this opening that she gave him to build on what he was able to do in his direct examination. Not only is he going to tell it again, he's going to give the jury a visual now. Elaine, you should have shut this down. This makes you look like an amateur.
And so here's Amber, here's Whitney, and they're hanging, waiting for the elevator. And Whitney they're looking at each other, yapping or whatever they're doing, and Whitney goes like this. Pow. Just a fake pow. And then they both start laughing, and then they're just standing there, yapping, doing what they're doing.
Demos it and repeats it. Pow! Oh, man. Isaac. That was a great moment. That was a great moment. That was a bolo punch of a demonstration right there. What is she doing? What is she thinking? She is so outclassed.
And how close does Whitney's fist get to Amber?
And because Elaine hasn't learned yet that details are not a point of attack with Isaac, now we're going to elaborate on this story. We're going to draw out even more of the damaging aspects of this fake punch. Open-ended question, direct examination question. How close did Whitney's fist get to Amber's face? How is the answer to this possibly going to help her client? Just think about that for a second. What's the good answer to this question for Elaine? If it doesn't have a good answer, you shouldn't ask it. And if it doesn't have a definitive answer, a predictable answer, you definitely should not ask it on cross-exam.
Oh, I'm watching this. It's a fake thing. It's not. It's
Right,
not
right.
like she went and she hit her own sister.
No, but I'm
She
asking
didn't go
how
and hit
close.
her. She just, going pow. If here's my face, if here's my face, it's just coming by. Fake punch going by.
The first bolo punch worked great, and the jury loved it. So let's give him a reprise. Let's do that one again. And Isaac is now looking over at the jury. He sees that they're attentive on him. They are giving him presumably positive feedback because he's very comfortable engaging with them and looking at them. He has no stress on his face, no stress in his body when he's doing this demonstration and looking at them. He's showing them what happened. He believes it's what happened. And they're seeing that. Oh, Elaine, you asked for this.
This, that far.
Okay.
Just making believe. Just making believe. It's a
Okay.
believe punch.
Okay.
How many times has he gotten that in now? Is it like 4 times he's gotten this demo punch in? And at no point has Elaine stepped up, said, Mr. Baruch, that won't be necessary. Please go ahead and have your seat. I'm just gonna ask you about these things. You don't need to demonstrate. No. Nope. Just lets him do what he wants. Lets him dance around. Prince Nassim over here, just having a good time, showboating. This is Isaac showboating. I love to see it.
And then they both laugh, you say.
Yeah, they both, you know, they just start, you know.
Did you watch them get on the elevator?
No,
Okay, so the part that you saw, the elevator never opened during that time.
that's right.
The elevator never opened during that time. So I want to draw your attention to the fact that we're now approximately 20 minutes into this cross-examination. Okay, this is a fairly lengthy bit of time to spend on a witness who didn't necessarily have that much to say. He had some critical details to talk about within a certain time frame. He had a phone call that he witnessed between Amber and Johnny. He had just a general recollection of living together in the Eastern Columbia building and seeing each other around and what that was like. But the really important thing about Isaac Baruch is that he saw Amber multiple times in the days following the May 21st incident when she claims Johnny Depp threw a phone at her face and she had no marks on it, despite showing up to court a few days later with a big mark looking like a bruise on her face. That's what's important about Isaac's testimony. That is what you have to undermine, or you shouldn't even be wasting time asking these questions. And yet here we are, 20 minutes in, asking Isaac about whether they got on the elevator after the fake punch. Now, this is still day 2, so this is early in the process for the jury. They have yet to get to know these people. They have yet to get really far into this trial process. So they don't necessarily have a strong sense yet of what a waste of time this whole line of inquiry is, at least not to the extent that they resent it like they're likely to do once we're more on week 5 of this trial. But they are aware that a lot of time has been spent and they're not sure where this is going or why we're even talking about this. Is it a critical detail that they never got on the elevator or that he never saw them get on the elevator? Why does this matter? Elaine is not explaining why it matters, and that's probably because it doesn't actually matter. She just doesn't know how to deal with Isaac besides trying to invite him to give conflicting accounts, or I don't know, maybe he's going to volunteer something damaging about his memory. But none of that has happened so far. And she hasn't figured any of this out. She hasn't adjusted, still just doing the same old stuff. And by now, I imagine it's starting to get old for the jury.
Okay.
That is correct.
And how many seconds would you say, or minutes would you say this little clip was?
Oh, what I saw was 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
Okay. And do you recall what day that was?
That I saw this?
No. Was there a date on the video?
Oh, I don't, if there was, it wasn't something that I acknowledged.
Okay, great.
This is as far as Elaine decides to go with this elevator video. And what did we accomplish there? Isaac got to show off another piece of his testimony. He repeated it and demonstrated it repeatedly, got to bring that charisma to the fore, bolster himself in his recounting because he does it in such a fun and playful and cheerful way. And Elaine got nothing out of that. Not a single point, not a single fact that mattered in any way to her case, that undermined Isaac at all. She took damage in this round and she gave absolutely none back. So in part 5, Elaine is starting to get desperate. She's clearly frustrated. This script is not going the way that she thought it was going to go. The game plan isn't working. She's got limited skills to be able to adapt. So she kind of flails. She starts trying to wing these aggressive questions out at him. But all it does is make her look angry and ineffective and make Isaac look sympathetic for trying to encounter these questions reasonably and fairly. So in part 5, what we'll see is the turn when I believe the jury starts to really dislike Elaine. Join me there.